we're going to go ahead and get started. So today's class is about Studio Editor in ParentSquare. So I think everybody is already logged in, which is great and verified. So what is Studio Editor? So newsletters are super popular things that most teachers want to send out to their classes and their parents. And so Studio Editor is the embedded newsletter tool into ParentSquare. So it's already free. We don't have to pay anything extra for it. And they do have some pre-built templates, or you can make your own. You can also collaborate. So as we were discussing, as some of you came in, those of you that only teach a certain department in your grade levels, you can actually add your co-teachers and y'all could all make one newsletter together. So collaboration is super easy to do with ParentSquare. One very, very important key thing, and one of the main selling points of why we moved to ParentSquare last year, is that everything that we put inside Studio Editor, minus pictures, is going to be translated into the preferred languages of our families. So especially in some of our communities that have a high Hispanic percentage, all of the information that we put into Studio Editor is going to be translated. They're going to be able to receive it just like everybody else. And then I put integrates with Canva because I will say Studio Editor, it is very basic looking. It's very easy to use and very intuition friendly for you to be able to figure out what to do. But you may want to make some fancier things in Canva and you could integrate them into your newsletter as you wanted to do. So there are 6 components that you can add into your newsletter, and we're going to go through those like one by one. I have a template that I made that I'm going to share with you, or you can choose your own and all that kind of stuff. I think I gave all of you a handout too, and I'm just going to kind of go through that so you can make notes and write down ideas as they jump out at you and things like that. Is there anything that we need to do before I switch over? Good? Okay. And there is a terrible glare, so I'm going to cut one of these lights off real quick. So you need to just go to your home page on ParentSquare. Nope, wrong one. There we go. And even though we're not making a post right now, you're going to click the word new post. So we will go over all of the ins and outs of posting and stuff at my next session about communication best practices. But in order to get to Studio Editor, we have to pretend that we're going to make a post. So we're going to select new post. Just in case you have not seen this screen before, this is where we determine who our audience is going to be essentially. Like, for example, I have a test group that I've been testing some things out in ParentSquare this morning, and you can choose who's going to receive it. So another little thing, just to, in case you haven't heard this part before, our students who are in grades 7 through 12 are going to have access to ParentSquare. So they will receive all the information if you choose to push it out to them as well. If you have pre-K through 6 students, then your audience is just going to be your parents for those. So you can choose who this is going to go to. We can do a subject, test newsletter, and then this typically would be the body in which you would compose your post in. It's got the rich text formatting. You can insert pictures, videos, and all of that good stuff. But today we're going to click on that tab that says Studio Editor. So have I lost anybody? Am I good? Okay. Do you see the new post button? No, on your home page? That's okay. Right there. No, that's good. There, perfect. No, you're good. Okay, so these are kind of the pre-built templates. They've got 5 of them. I mean, they all basically are the same thing. It's just styled a little bit differently. If you're not a super creative visual person, then it kind of gives you not a super blank canvas to get started. And then if you click that See All button, you might also see one that says practice. Yes? Oh, good. Then I did it and it worked. So this is a template that I made at the district level. So district and school administrators can make newsletter templates and share them out for others. But then you also see up here, I already have a personal template. So I have not decided, because I do love my other product that I make my What the Tech newsletters in. But if I chose to do so, I could move over to make my newsletters in Studio Editor and push them out through ParentSquare that way. So I kind of started a personal template just to kind of see what different things I could do as far as styling wise and how I felt about the different components that could be added and things like that. And then if you scroll down, you're going to have your default templates, which I said there's 5 of them. And you can choose whichever one you want to start with today. But I think I am just going to start with the basic build one. That one is probably the most simple to begin with. So I'm just going to click on that template. And it should bring you to a new screen where now we're basically in our editing screen for Studio Editor. So the only thing that is not super intuitive to me on this is that whenever I click on newsletter header, for example, I want to be able to edit those letters like right there in that box, but just tricked you. They're actually over there on the right-hand side of your screen. So I'm going to click off this for a second. If you hover over, actually I'm going to click save and close at the bottom. If you hover over your different blocks, it's going to tell you the name of it. This is a header block. This is an image block, and this is a paragraph block. You can also use the arrows to reorder it and drag it up and down. You also have a trash can. If you compose something and you don't want it, you can just delete it from there. Also, at the very, very top, you can choose different background colors. It says brand colors, and you're probably thinking, like, why in the world are they pink and blue? Well, I set them up as being, I think they were green and white maybe at the beginning, and I had some people say that they didn't like those, so I let that person pick, and we chose these pink and blue ones. So those are the two like district colors, I guess. So you can choose basically, and that turns the background that color if you would like. Yes, so your schools, I did set your school's colors for those. So you will have those background colors. So you can make it very Clanton-ish or Thorsby-ish or Verbena-ish, however you want it to be. You know, Thorsby and Verbena and Maplesville with all y'all's varying shades of crimson red that you have. And then for fonts, you can choose your font styling. You cannot import your own. The person, whenever I was watching my administrator training, was very specific. He said lots of people ask that question, but you cannot do your own fonts. So you can just choose a font if you want to change it in there. And that kind of absorbs it for the entire newsletter. So that's one thing I kind of like. Sometimes when I get in Canva, there's too many options. I get bogged down and like, well, you know, do I want to do this font or I want to do this color or this style and things like that. So I moved a little bit quicker through creating something in Studio Editor just because I didn't have to make some of those design choices, I guess. Okay, I'm just going to start editing a couple of things and we'll go down this list kind of in order just so you can kind of stay with me. So the first thing I'm going to edit is the header. If you look at like, this is the preview pane on this side, and then on the other side is kind of like our making changes bar, I guess. You can choose your alignment if you want it to be center aligned or right aligned, whatever you're feeling like that day. You can import a logo. I mean, it could be a picture if you want it to. I did download our logo in preparation. I actually did something in advance on this computer. So one thing, and I have it in here italicized in green, is that if you include any images in ParentSquare at all, on a post, in your group, in a newsletter, anything, the alt text is required. So that is required for accessibility, and that's one of the things that ParentSquare is very strict on. So you're not going to be able to go any further without adding it. The good news is that it's generative with AI, so you don't have to come up with it on your own. So if you have an image and you put it in, if you click in the alt text box and do generate AI suggestion, it generates it for you. So you just have to make a click and it's going to come up with one on its own. You don't have to try to come up with your own alt text. If you're not familiar with that, that's whenever people who may have a visual impairment, they use a screen reading software and it reads over all of the things. So whenever it reads over the logo, they will hear the Chilton County Schools logo features an apple. Really a peach? I guess I could change that. We'll change that. Peach with the words Chilton in brown. And that's actually the technology department logo, but that's okay. If you wanted to put a link on the picture so that someone could click on the picture and it go to a website, you can. And then here is where you can change your title. So if we want to do a Meet the Teacher newsletter, we can add that in as our title. And you could put in your name if you want to, or your school, or anything like that. Keep listening. Here we go. You could decide if you want your heading style to be a different size. You could put in a date, and then you can choose your colors. And then to save all of our things, we will do save and close. Center line looks way better. And so that's kind of our big heading block. If you decided you wanted to do a new header, like make a different section or things like that, you could click over here on the content block, and then everywhere where you see dotted blue lines, you would add in a different header. So that was something that I did do a lot at the beginning, was I was clicking on my header block thinking it would edit that current header, but you actually have to click into the content blocks that are currently there. Next up, we have images. Not a lot of options. Again, pretty simplistic. So if we click on image, we have our content and we can upload an image the same way that I just did before. But I also want to point out this layout tab. You've got two choices. You can do one big image if you want to, or you can do two smaller side-by-side images. So I'm just going to click the columns to be side-by-side. And then I'm going to go back over to content, and now it has a spot for me to do two images. So again, I'm just going to click on my image and pull in some that I have already saved. Going to do my generate AI suggestion. It flatters me. It says I have a warm smile. I guess it's better than a cold smile. And then on my right column, I did save an image out of Canva, this productive PD for your district. This was a little image that I had put together for a conference that I presented at this summer. So I did this also to point out the translation feature when we get to the end, that because there's text in that image that it does not translate. So that's another reason why I pulled that in there, because my newsletter is going to have a lot of random things in it. It's really not going to be very cohesive. And then if I wanted to link my image, for example, if I had a registration link that was still live for this, I could link that picture. I will say, though, by looking at them, if I was an end user, it's not super intuitive for me to click the picture and think it's going to take me somewhere. So that's just something I was thinking about as I was kind of building, that if I wanted the images to be linked, I would try to put a caption somewhere that says, click the picture to learn more, or something like that. And then I will save and close. So now I've got my header. I have my images in two columns. And then the next block that they already have put in for us is a paragraph. So I'm going to choose my paragraph. And the first thing I'm going to do is come over to that layout section again, because you've got a couple of more options with paragraphs. You can just have a left align with text, a right, or you can put in an image and it can be kind of like wrapped in your text, the right image with text, or the two columns. I will say it does show that there's a picture in there, but you do not have to have the picture. It's kind of giving you the option if you want to, but whenever you also get in here, you can delete the picture out if you would like to. So I'm going to just pick that so that I can show you how to do that feature too. And then I'm going to go back to content. Something I did put on here is like a little tip. If you were typing several things in a paragraph, but for some reason you wanted to add multiple paragraphs, you do not have to put anything in this title box. So if I just wanted, like if I was, clearly my newsletter is named like Meet the Teacher, so this paragraph is probably going to be about me. If I didn't want to put something in there, I can just backspace it and it goes away. So I'm just going to click down here and I'm going to say Miss Maddox is excited to meet her new students this year. And then I'm going to scroll down. I don't necessarily want an image on here with this one. And this time, if I hover over it, there's a little garbage can down there in the bottom corner. So I can delete that, and it's going to take my image off and leave my text aligned. I also can come back if I wanted to center that text or right align it. I could do that as well. And I'm going to save and close. So now we have added in a header, two images, and paragraph. Am I going way too fast for anybody? Good? Okay. I am actually going to skip the next one and go to dividers. So one thing about when we're doing a classroom newsletter, just thinking if I was an elementary teacher or even as an upper level teacher, if I have several kind of like items I want to put in a newsletter, you kind of want there to be a little bit of separation between the things. So a divider is a really good choice for that. So it is actually going to be the very last little button to press. at the bottom. And when we click divider, you are going to see your blue lines again. And you are just going to click on your Studio Editor newsletter where you want dividers to be added. We don't get to pick what kind of line it is. We don't get to pick a color. It is just a divider. This is also something that's really good for our parents who are going to be accessing this on a mobile device, which is probably the majority of your parents. They're going to look at it on their phone. So this will also create some separation in case some of your paragraphs get a little wonky or things like that. And they'll be able to see from section to section, okay, this one is about the upcoming test. This one is about the upcoming field trip and things like that. Yes. Mm-hmm. Did you put in your alt text? Okay. I will look at that. I had one up here when I did this one, but when I put in my alt text, it went away. Maybe you need to go and delete the image, the box. You can try that, on the where I did on the paragraph, I went in and deleted it because I wasn't going to put one in there. Perfect. Okay, so it either needs to have an alt text or we need to delete it. It doesn't like it otherwise. The next item on our list is going to be a button. So a button is a way to kind of put a link to something else in a very clean manner. Some people are also funny about their email address being listed on things. For example, on our district websites and your new school websites, there's just a little arrow that says send a message. It doesn't actually have your email address. This is going to be more private than a very public website, I will say this. The only people who are going to see these newsletters you send out are the people that you choose to send it to, which would be your classroom parents, potentially students if you're high school, and maybe fellow staff members if for some reason you want to do a fun get to know you activity and share them among staff members. I may mention that at the admin meeting. That would be a good icebreaker for y'all's first day. But we can create a button link. I'm going to put a link under my paragraph. So with our button link, we can choose what we want the button to say. That's going to be a very limited number of characters. It looks like we have 32 because it's got to fit inside that button. So I'm just going to put email me. And then we're going to include our link target. ParentSquare recommends that if you want it to go to a particular website that you copy and paste that entire link that's going to go in there. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm just going to grab a link to this. Not going to email me, but that way I can just copy and paste that entire URL in there. You can choose what color you want your button to be. So if I want my button to be pink, I can choose that or another color. And also if you include lots of buttons, for example, if you want to include links to all the programs that you're going to be using or links to things that you want them to have access through the year, you could choose to change all of them the same color at one time. And then we will save and close. I do have a tip also on your paper that if you do want the button to be a email address, this is how we do this. We do mail to and a colon, and then you type in your email address. Once you click button link, you'll need to click on a blue dotted line over on your newsletter to put it in place. I wanted to drag them several times. Doesn't work. You have to click it over there and then click it on here. The buttons are also pretty large. It does not appear at this time that we have the ability to build columns of things, but I think that they told us at our original demo that they're making some enhancements to Studio Editor, but they wanted it to be really simple for everybody to use too. Not everybody's quite as creative as some people, because I've seen some Canva teacher newsletters and some of them are very, very detailed. The last item on our list is embedding a video. One thing that I personally love as a teacher, a parent, an employee is whenever I don't have to click on a link and go to another page to watch something. So it's very easy to directly embed a video into this, and I'm going to show you how. It's a little extra step other than just getting the URL. So I'm going to click on the video button. I'm going to find my blue lines and do the add video here. So in our box, it tells us that we can paste either the video URL in or the embed code. If you do a URL, it's going to be a hyperlink to the video, which is fine. They can click on it and it will open YouTube or whatever. But I think it would be really awesome if they can play the video directly in Studio Editor. So I've already got a YouTube video pulled up just so I can kind of show y'all where to find that. So I'm going to go still under, and there's 2 screenshots on your paper. See, I was super prepared for y'all. Under Share, and the very first option is Embed Code. So it's going to look a little techie. That's totally fine. But then they make it really easy for you with the copy button. It copies it for you. We're going to come over and paste that in there. We do have to do alt text, and it is not self-generated because it's going to pick up what they call like a cover icon on YouTube, which sometimes is a picture that whoever created the video has uploaded. Sometimes it's a little still shot of the video. So this is the only thing you will have to put in your own alt text for. So I'm going to just say week 6, Google Bootcamp topics, because I know that that's what it was for. And then save and close. And now that video is embedded directly in line with everything else in my newsletter. So when my parents are looking at it, they are just going to be able to click that video and it's going to play. And the possibilities for what you want to put in there are endless. If we've got younger kids, I mean, you know, we could find remedial videos of them counting or practicing letters and say, hey, we sing these songs in class every day. Here are the resources that you can do this at home. Or if you were high school, hey, here's a great video on how to solve these equations, or we watch this person all the time. I think Khan Academy has videos on YouTube. I even had a teacher email me this morning and said, hey, I found resources for my textbook on YouTube, so I'm just going to watch those. I was like, sounds great to me. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. The only thing I am not sure about is our 7 through 12 schools that have YouTube blocked. If we embed the YouTube video in here, if the kids will still be able to watch it. We will have to test that out once school starts. But if it's being sent to the parents, also, and the parents are not on a school network, which they're probably not going to be unless they're teachers, then they'll be able to watch it, or the kids will be able to pull it up and watch it at home, and they'll still have the resource. And that is all of our content. So did everybody build a very sporadic newsletter that makes no sense today? Yes. Okay, good. That's totally fine. So let's talk about our options that we've got from here. I'm going to take a break and move to the other side so I'm not like totally standing in Misty and Randy's way the whole time. So once we get finished with our newsletter, we can say finish, and it's going to take us back to the post. A couple of other things that we can do too. If you wanted that collaboration and you wanted to say, okay, well, I did my part for science, so now I need my reading teacher, my math teacher to add in their homework for the week. If you click that collaborate button, you can start typing a name. It's going to need to be a user within your organization, which would be a teacher in your school. You can send them a message if you want to, and then you'll be able to also see who has a list of that. Very similar to sharing a Google Doc or something else with that. But I really think that's a neat feature because those of you who are departmentalized this year, y'all could work on one newsletter that goes out to all your parents, saves time, work smarter, not harder. The other thing that we can do too is under this save button, we can save this as a draft. So I had a little bit of time to do this, but I'm not finished, so I just need to save it as a draft. Or if you really did a jam up job and you love the way that you structured your newsletter, and this is what you want to send out every week or every month, you can make that your own personal template. So that way, whenever you go to that post and click that studio letter, you're going to see that personal template every time. Now, it's not going to like redo this one every time. It's a template. So that means that every time that you produce and you use the template, it's going to produce a new product every time. Okay. It's not going to like delete your other one every time. I am going to go ahead and click, I'll do save as a personal template just so you can see, I can show you where that goes to. So I'm just going to put June 26th. So we can submit. And then I'm going to go back and click my finish button. I'm going to go ahead and post mine so I can show y'all what it looks like. I probably would not post whatever y'all made, but this is a group that just has my department in it. So I'm not worried about them seeing anything like that. But I've got my group set. I've got my staff set. my subject. Now, this is the part where at the very, very bottom, I'm so scared I'm sending a Misty's way the whole time. I'm going to click on this. Okay, good. I'm going to click on this Edit Translations down here. And this is where the magic is. So now it has taken my entire studio newsletter, and I am now Senora Katie Maddox, and it has translated everything that is I typed into my newsletter. But it did not translate my video because I am the owner of that video. But if it was just some random other video, it's, you may not be the owner. And it did not translate my image I put in. It should. But everything that I physically typed into the newsletter is going to automatically be translated. So I don't have any Jemison representatives here, but as a former person who taught in Jemison, I can tell you right now they are clapping along with us, thinking that's so awesome. We do have a couple of other, these are like our top languages for the district. You can see what it's going to look like in Chinese. You really want to know what your name looks like in Chinese? We have some Vietnamese as well and some Japanese people in our district. And then you can go back and I'm just going to say retranslate. Or back to English. There we go. Pretty cool. Yes. Okay, just a little preview of some posting options. If I am working on this and I do not want to go out right now because the only time I have to work is at 10 o'clock at night when my kids are already in bed, you can schedule these posts so it goes out during your actual school time so your parents know that you're not working on their stuff for their child at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and post. And so now within that group, I'm going to get back to it just so you can see. We have a post with our test newsletter. And another thing that you will see the more that we post and things like this, it says 0 notified. You'll be able to actually get some data back right there. And I told y'all, I promise I would not go off on tangent. You'll be able to see who is notified with this too. So that's another really good thing is that you can see which of your parents it's reaching and which ones are actually engaging. They opened the link on the text to read the newsletter. The other thing that I did want to show you is for those of us that may have saved this as a personal template, I want to show you how to get back to those. So if you'll go to the top right corner and click your name and choose my account, all the way down at the very bottom of the right side under activity, there should be something that says Studio Templates. If you do not see Studio Templates, then you may not have saved it as a personal template. That won't appear until you do that one time. So once you do that, then you'll have them there. So it would have to be saved as a personal template, and those words just won't be there until you do that. So then this is where you can come in, and for those that you did save, if you wanted to rename them or delete them so that it's not there anymore because you accidentally clicked that button or whatever, you could do that here too. Mm-hmm. You would come back right here. So if you don't save it as a personal template, then you're not going to be able to go back to it again, essentially, unless you go back in and you edit that post. But if you do save it as a template and you don't want it anymore, you can come over here and you can just delete it or archive it. And then, if you have a co-teacher that says, hey, you did a really great job on your newsletter, like, can I have a copy of that? You could actually duplicate it here too, and you could share it with them. I think, maybe. Let's try that before I tell you something you can do something. Oh yeah, you would just open it and then you would collaborate, but you may not want to give them collaboration rights on yours, but maybe you could just make them a copy and then give them the rights to collaborate. We could do that. That's a good question. Any other questions before we close out? Yes, and then it went away. I forgot how I did it. So I was at home going, where did I do this from? So I'm so glad that this was today. Oh, perfect. Well, and I told myself too, if you still wanted to use things from Canva, that's not a bad thing. The translation feature is not, I think that's the really big downside of that, but you could set up a studio template You could do a header and you could do some larger images and put in your images from Canva. You could also make them linkable, and if you could use your Canva stuff and do a public link, and then they would be able to go see it too. So that's definitely a possibility, because I know some people are going to say this is too plain, and I just don't love that. But you can put in the information, it's going to be delivered in a very efficient way, and it's going to get the point across. So while it may not be the prettiest, it is hopefully going to be really effective. I did put a link down there, and I can send y'all a digital version of this too. There is like a ParentSquare Academy for teachers where it's like some little self-paced courses, and I'm sure that if you got a certificate at the end, that's going to be turned in for PD credits. And then, of course, if you have any questions, you can always email me, and I'll be happy to help you.